Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eben Goodstein. I'm director of the graduate programs that focus on sustainability at Bard College in New York. And along with my colleague Dave Blockstein and Tobias Hess, we are organizing the worldwide teach-in on climate and justice. And today we're real pleased to have a conversation about theater and climate and comedy and climate. One of the purposes of the Worldwide Teach-In is to really try and reach out beyond the usual suspects. If you have a climate event, a scientist or a lecture or a movie, the typical sort of 30 students that you expect to show up will show up. But we need to figure out ways to communicate much more broadly. And so as part of the teach-in, we're encouraging student or faculty groups to take advantage of theater opportunities and comedy opportunities. And we'll be talking more about that today. We have a couple of wonderful guest speakers who are climate playwrights that we're going to be honoring today. But before we get to that, I want to just spend a minute or two talking about the Worldwide Teach-In. In particular, kind of what the vision of the teach-in is. So I'm going to share my screen and get going here. Okay. The theory behind the Worldwide Teach-In is that we are stronger together. There are a lot of climate educators, and in fact, increasingly, many educators. Not necessarily climate experts, but just faculty and staff and students who increasingly are worried about their future and the future of their colleagues and children. And the teach-in is a platform, really, for people that want to come together and try and figure out, again, how to reach out beyond the 30 or so climate-focused students and the 5 or 6 climate-focused faculty members. We have a lot of resources on our website. Here is a 10-minute video, and I'm going to show just the second version of this to give you a good sense of what we're all about. So,
your Worldwide Teach-In will mobilize the power of educators and students and empower a generation of fighters to stabilize the climate and advance climate justice.
We all need to get comfortable talking about climate all the time. The teach-in helps us do that.
The Worldwide Teach-In is a call to organize events on campus or community on or around March 29, 2023.
The key to successful teaching is relying on homegrown talent, not outside experts. The more local educators you involve directly from your school or community, the more people will attend the event.
They will do this gladly because they are really worried about climate change, just like you.
Our team is here to support you, but you have to step forward. Join us.
All right, that gives you the basic, the basic thrust of the teach-in. Lots more information. There's a 10-minute video version here. Our hope and intent is to have well over 300 colleges, universities, high schools, K-8 organizations, faith communities participating in the Worldwide Teach-In on or around March 29th, 2023. The way to get started is to register. Even if you don't know exactly what you're going to do on that date, please sign up and put your information in a bubble here. So, for example, this is the Flasco, Ecuador in Quito is having a teach-in event. And so even if you don't know exactly what you're going to do, we're asking you to sign up quickly and soon so that we can create the momentum to try and really engage, hundreds of universities around the world, colleges, high schools, and tens of thousands of young people. Let me now move to this conversation about sort of, wrong website there, sorry. The conversation about what a teach-in looks like and this emphasis today on comedy and theater. So if you go to our main website page, which is just worldwideteachin.org, there's our models page here. And this really goes into details about what a teach-in looks like. A teach-in, we're calling it a teach-in. It's a bottom-up educational event. We're really looking for widespread discussion. It's not, bring in some climate expert from outside to give a lecture or watch a movie. It's really designed to be discussion focused and driven largely by homegrown talent, faculty and students who are climate concerned, not necessarily climate experts, who want to lead discussions and want to focus attention to these issues. We've got lots of models, our Make Climate a Class model, which pushes it into the classroom, our 3-hour teach-in, which is focused on an all-campus event. We've got models for faith communities. But today we're talking about adding climate comedy and theater to the mix. So I'll open this one up. One of the exciting things that we've done this year that we are pleased to be talking about today is that last spring we announced a global petition calling for short plays, 5 to 7 minutes, to spark discussion about climate solutions. And the vision here was that once we get some powerful pieces of theater, that student theater groups around the world would have free access to put these plays on. Again, short plays, vision you could actually mount all 3 of them, the 3 winners in an hour or so, and have robust discussion that would emerge from those conversations. The second part we'll talk about today as well is the idea of a 60 to 90-minute climate comedy night, and we have a template for that. But before we do, we're very pleased to welcome 2 of our winning climate playwrights with us today. David, can you give a bit more of a formal introduction to our playwrights for us? Put you on the spot because I don't even have.
No, happy to do that.
Yeah.
So so thank you all for joining us, and especially to our honored guests. So our 2 playwrights that are with us are Donna Latham. Donna is a feminist playwright in the Chicago area. She is also a resident playwright at the Rising Sun Performance Company in New York City, and a member of Honor Roll Playwrights and the Dramatist Guild. Her plays have been produced coast to coast in the US and in various other parts around the world, and she's won a number of different awards and recognitions. And we'll be putting up information about our playwrights and also the, of course, plays up on our website. Enoch, who is known professionally as E. Salvador Chapman, is with the American or Institute of American Indian Arts, and he is in New Mexico and seems to be involved in a variety of different activities. And I think E. Salvador, you're going to have to introduce yourself a little bit more when we turn to you. But we're delighted to have you both with us, and congratulations. I don't know if Eben said, but we had about 40 entries in this contest, and we had 2 rounds of judging, including involving 7 external judges that included playwrights and educators and actors and including a university student. So we tried to really have a diverse process, and it was really hard to pick these 2 great plays out of the 40 that came to us. And as Eben said, we have one other that was written in Urdu. And so we had a separate judging process for that. And with the Pakistani native speakers evaluating that play. And if you want to learn more about that and meet the playwright, you have to join us again tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. We don't expect you to do it, Rose, and I know you'll be enjoying your sleep at that time.
And we will be posting a blog with this, and with your permission, we might pull some video comments that you might be making today. So, but we wouldn't do that without your permission. So, David, what's the order now?
So let's begin with Donna, please. And Donna, if you could just introduce, if you want to introduce anything else about yourself and your play and your thoughts in terms of writing this and in terms of staging it, please.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for selecting this play. I'm Donna Latham, she, her, and I'd like to just speak a little bit about theater first, and then specifically about the events that inspired this piece and suggestions for the way it might be produced. Theater makes us better humans. It enhances empathy and connects us to our own humanity. Our main task in theater is to feel what another human is feeling. As audience members, we become emotionally involved in a story. Theater makes us laugh and weep. We feel our hearts pound in the moment. We fear for others as we slip into their shoes. I'm so excited that you're including theater as one way to involve homegrown talent in this event. Now, one way that we spark empathy and discussion about the climate crisis is through storytelling. All the Way Back is set during those catastrophic days of Hurricane Harvey, which clobbered Houston in 2017. A Cat 5 hurricane, it was one of the wettest storm systems in US history. The storm stalled over Houston, which is one of the most populous cities in the US. It parked itself over the city for 4 days. Warm waters from the Gulf of Mexico provided an endless supply for a relentless onslaught. The storm dumped 60 inches of rain, and Houston received 50 inches of it. Floods and destruction impacted millions of people. I live in both the Chicago area and Houston, and I was in Houston during Hurricane Harvey. I hold indelible memories from that time, but I will never forget the way that people burst into action to save themselves and to help one another. This play, All the Way Back, features a gaggle of humans brought together during this catastrophe. When one among them is in danger, they must instantly spring into action and join together to save her. It's a life or death crisis. These are characters with different life experiences, different worldviews, perspectives, and religious beliefs. Not everyone hails from the same geographical region. We have internal and external conflict. So open waters are swirling outside and open emotions swirl inside. Set against that external environmental conflict, we encounter an inside human conflict. From the get-go, the character Big Don is antagonistic towards college students Yari and Wes. It's not long before he accuses Yari of sneaking across the border and unleashes his climate denial. But when water knocks down Yari during an open manhole cover, all the others form a human chain to rescue her. Now, thinking about the way that this might be staged really offers a variety of possibilities. It can be staged in kind of a stripped down, almost bare stage production to one that's more elaborate and, for example, uses projections. This play is set inside and outside Dougie's Donuts, which is a food truck. So stools or benches, cafeteria chairs and tables could be used to create seating inside the truck, or more elaborate set pieces could actually build a facade that suggests the truck. A sign outside can indicate the business name, and stakes with yellow caution flags warn of the open manhole. Costume pieces are easily obtainable. They're hot weather casual clothes like shorts and jeans, t-shirts, sneakers. There's probably a heap of dry clothing and towels and toiletries in the truck, because at that time, folks in Houston were sharing these things with people in need. And the characters Dougie and Angelina are big-hearted survivors of Hurricane Katrina. So they would be prepared to pass these things out to folks who needed them. And easily obtainable props like coffee mugs, donuts, and blankets can be used. And thinking of a more elaborate approach, I think this piece in particular lends itself to projections. So a visual montage might open the piece, for example, before the action on stage begins. Theater makers and students can research the incredible photos that were taken during the hurricane. There are compelling images of people rescuing neighbors with jet skis, canoes, and swamp boats, gut-wrenching images of families slogging through chest-high waters on freeways with abandoned cars floating in the background, of parents pushing children in shopping carts to reach higher ground. In fact, the Houston Chronicle had a series of now and then photos that showed the city during the hurricane and then a year later as a comparison. And with that, I sent wishes for broken legs and robust discussions to the theater makers who produced this play. And thank you again for choosing it.
Well, thank you for a dramatic rendering of a dramatic play, and I certainly look forward to having it performed as part of the worldwide teach-in, and I hope that it'll be recorded in many different presentations, and then we'll all, hopefully get a chance to see different ways it's presented. So, Salvador, your turn, please.
Thank you very much. Wow, I am not nearly as well prepared as Donna. That was amazing. Thank you very much for that. That was awesome. So I'm Salvador Chapman. I currently am attending the Institute of American Indian Arts. It's a university down here in Santa Fe. It's the only Native American arts-focused university in the entire world. And it's awesome. It's fantastic. So with that being said, a lot of my focus, generally speaking, in my writings is geared towards like Native American issues and things that are brought up inside of that space, which is fun. My piece is a very simple 3-person piece that is focused on kind of a dialogue between two main individuals. They're both firefighters, and they both come on stage wearing masks because they are sent to go out and look for any signs of life after a California fires, just like we've had over the last couple years, these big fires that have boomed up over California. So these firefighters are often to this wilderness trying to look for any signs of life. This was sparked by an article that was written by a friend of mine who she went out into the world and looked for mushrooms and really tried to study these morel mushrooms that are pretty much the only thing that kind of grows after fires. And her article explains what the mushrooms do and why they're so important to the world of revitalizing nutrients into the ground, revitalizing forests, revitalizing all these things. So these firefighters are pretty much going out and looking for things. And one firefighter is a little bit more obstinate, probably a little bit more pig-headedness in his belief or in their belief of how they see the world. I think we all have friends or people in our lives that may be that, what are you talking about? That's not true. That's, it's got to be this or this or this. And so the one is a little bit more obstinate. They're the senior firefighter, and then they're bringing their rookie firefighter along, and the rookie kind of is trying to clarify things here and there, while the senior firefighter is being a little bit more obstinate. Through the conversation, it talks a little bit about the local flora. It talks a little about the region itself. It brings up a little bit of Native American issues, and right before the one twist that I kind of put into the play, the old firefighter, senior firefighter goes, "Oh man, it's all these Native Americans who are causing issues," and the young firefighter takes off their mask, and it's shown that they are Native Americans. So as they're talking about this stuff, young firefighter kind of just says, "This is what's happening." And then there's a little bit of a twist in which a third person, who I call the presenter, comes on stage, and they say, okay, can we just freeze the presentation, bring up the lights, and the presenter presents to the audience, this is what they found, and he raises a moral mushroom. They found this mushroom, and then they explain the power of the mushroom and how in the next 20 years, when the earth was devastated and destroyed by fires, we weren't prepared for it. And then 20 years later, when the earth was destroyed by the floods, we weren't prepared for it. And 30 years later, when it's destroyed by ice, we weren't prepared for it. So this whole thing that we're watching is actually 100 years ago. So I jumped the audience 100 years in the future to talk about, hey, this is what happened over the last 100 years. But because we learned about this mushroom, because we learned about what it does to provide for the nutrients and create a little bit better world for us, we are now able 100 years later to kind of allow ourselves to regrow after these devastations, after these big things that have happened in our world, because we didn't prepare for them. We didn't look at them. And I really like the approach there of, we're not here in our present. We're now 100 years in the future, looking back at what the present is. And what does that kind of relate, or how does that relate to what we can talk about, or what we can prepare for, how we can look for the future. After the presenter does their little presentation, they say, can we resume the process, or can we resume the presentation? They walk off the stage, and then the two firefighters have their little wrap-up conversation that ends the piece. When I was originally writing this piece, my mind went to the simple stagings of like our town, and really sparse kind of set designs, really sparse kind of costume designs. So I wasn't definitely thinking of going out and, hey, investing $100 or $1,000 or $1 million into any type of really strong production design here. It was very simple to just say, these people are wearing masks so you can see that they're firefighters. And, it's really much the outfits that you want to kind of focus in on. You don't really have to worry about trees or fire or anything like that if you don't want to. The other thing that I really want to focus on was making my piece completely, it's not gender neutral, just gender non-specific. Having the firefighters be both women, I think, is a really interesting commentary, especially with one being so obstinate and one being so fresh, because you don't usually see that. You usually see the obstinate guy being an old white guy, but to have the obstinate person be whatever type of race or whatever type of gender you want it to be can make a very interesting just statement on what that type of nature is. The only real caveat is that the younger firefighter should be Native American if possible, but granted, I know that's not always possible, especially if we're talking about countries that's not United States focused. And then the presenter can be whatever you want it to be, male, female, non-binary, transgender. It's all just about the idea of, what do you want to say about the future? How do you want to portray the future in our world? And I think it just opens itself up to a lot of very interesting conversations or talking points, depending upon how you want to stage it, the type of people you want to use, old, young, wily, if you want to have the future be presented by a beaver and it's a talking beaver on with a spotlight, that's great too. It's the idea of how you want to portray the thought of the future versus these two people who are having a conversation as they move about what seems to be just an ordinary day in their life.
I really like the moving to the future and the perspective of 100 years back. I think that's really powerful, because it opens up, it takes it out of like the sort of catastrophe of the moment and reminds us that there have been people living here for 12,000 years in the United States, right? And there will be people living here for another 12,000 years. And what we're doing today will determine, their opportunities, but, they will be here and they'll be reflecting back on what we did or didn't do. And I think that's really powerful. And I love the donut truck. I think that was just such a nice sort of place to have people gather for a conversation. So are you comfortable with a non-native person playing the role of the native firefighter?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the trick behind it, especially, Native American, I'm here, this is what I'm trying to focus on. But I think the trick behind it is, especially if someone is interested in producing it, across the pond or somewhere else, it's just an awareness thing, right?
Yep.
We're trying to say, or the piece itself is trying to say, of all the things in the United States that I love, the fact that Native Americans kind of get pushed by the wayside is not one of them.
Yeah.
And so it's like you guys are doing, you're trying to raise awareness, right? Trying to raise awareness of global issues and sustainability. I'm just trying to raise awareness that, hey, by the way, guess what? We're still here. And so if you have a person who's a non-native playing a native, that's been happening in Hollywood for years. So who am I to say you're native to that?
Well, people are saying nay to that. So
right. But at the same time, I get it, right? There's not necessarily a pool of native actors that you can always draw upon. It would be awesome if it could.
Making an effort. I think anyone who stages this play should at least make an effort. And if they don't find a native actor, then I think they should acknowledge, perhaps at the beginning or the end, that an effort was made.
Yeah. And that's I think that's the only thing about it that's really the idea for me is if you can make an effort, fantastic, right? That's really what we're hoping for. If an effort was made and you can't, then just say, maybe it's not purely native, but it's native descendant or native blood, or we have something that showcases that it is, because there's definitely a lot of people out there with mixed blood and everything, and that's fine. It's just the idea that we are here, we are around, and we're not lost to the ephemeral ether.
Well, maybe when the mask comes off, the character could say something like, you may not know this, but my grandfather is X or whatever.
Yes. And that's definitely another way of doing it too. The other thing is, and this is just, globally, Native Americans indigenous people, right? We are everywhere. So it's to say, is it purely Native American? You could say very much it's an indigenous, person or something to that extent where you're raising awareness about more indigeneity out there and not just like then maybe the one sliver of Native American indigeneity that exists. So there are ways
you could move the setting from California to Peru or
whatever works for you. And that's the thing that I tried to make it was very open. I didn't want to tie any one thing down to anybody. So if you have to adjust it to your own setting, if you have to adjust it to there, that's awesome. Just keep in mind that this isn't just about climate. There's also this level of cultural understanding that's kind of going on too, which I think is just fun. So yeah.
Donna, for you, how do you kind of think people should address sort of the homophobic nature of one of your characters?
I try to be very cautious with him, but he's a reality, right? I know this guy, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. So I think they should just go for it. These are people that we encounter in the world, and he's there too.
Yeah, and certainly the language that he uses would not be uncommon on television or in a movie theater or something like that. So your audiences are familiar with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in looking at and especially now listening to each of you talk about it. You can hear commonality of diverse characters in that are consequences of catastrophic climate destruction, and coming together with resilience, and also sort of, the having a bigoted character in there, and maybe some redemption that comes with that as well. And so I think, these are both inspiring stories and performances that I'm looking forward to. And so I think it's a nice pairing, and we hope that, that the both will be performed, and maybe even both by the same institution. Let's hear reactions or questions from the rest of you who are here, and thank you, non-playwrights, or maybe playwrights who are just not part of our competition, but who are with us today. So any questions or comments or thoughts that you want to share or direct to our playwrights here?
And of course, you haven't had the chance yet to read the plays. We'll be circulating them, posting them soon. But yeah, without having read the plays, any ideas or comments people want to share about the power of theater or these particular works?
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlotte. Yeah.
Thank you, Enoch. But I just wanted to say your work might do with some clarity. I'm sorry, in the middle I got lost. And it's just a general opinion, so that, you just enjoy a wide readership and people can follow the story properly, because it sounds like a very good one. But when you were saying, I don't really mean Native American, I mean mixed, you were also trying to clarify yourself. And I think it's better, when you look at your script a second time. Thank you.
Are you suggesting perhaps that there be like a little artist note at the beginning in terms of how this could be staged?
Exactly, something like that, but I think it would do with more aeration, more, greater clarity. From the beginning, so that people know what to expect. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Charlotte. Yeah, because I think one of the questions, especially, given that we do have an international audience here, Charlotte being a representative of that, and that is one of my questions, is sort of how these plays translate to other places. But I guess the other thing that I would say in terms of the commonality of both of them is that, we call this the worldwide teach-in on climate and justice, and that they really do emphasize the justice aspect of the solutions. Other questions or comments?
If I may?
Go ahead, Rosen, yeah. And then Willow, you'll be next.
So I'm thinking from the perspective of the experience of the teaching at the American University in Bulgaria we had last year. It was more of a panel where we discussed. We had 4 sub-panels. We were presenting faculty interest, students. There is a student sustainability club, so they presented activities. We presented research. We opened it up for we showed a little bit of student projects to inspire students to possibly work on independent studies with their professors, and showed which professor is interested in what, which is also kind of spreading grassroots for individual stuff, but those are usually presented at a conference, so raising awareness. But I think that with theater or comedy, we might find more engagement among young students. Us, the more experienced folks with a little bit more years on our odometer, are also usually inspired by that, because it's also a form of entertainment. So it may be something that is a nice sketch or a short play that can be either woven into a teaching, or it can be done in a week. At the American University in Bulgaria, we did a green week around this teaching. So I'm thinking that regardless of whether we can use these plays, and thank you so much for sharing them and for making them available, they can definitely inspire local interested parties to think about something that they're doing and spin it around climate and justice. I'm thinking of sharing this with our acting and theater professor, and also with one of our psychology professors, is also the mentor for the improv club at AUBG.
Yeah.
So I think that those can serve as very nice examples to inspire people also to adapt something from what they're doing, and then they also have more buy-in. In comedy, smart comedy, or just a sketch or a short play can be even more impactful than some of the formal aspects that we do. So I very much appreciate you bringing this to us, and looking forward to the recording. And I see a link with shared information that I can share with them to inspire more people.
Rosen, we will be writing a blog post very soon that kind of describes this. Donna, we'd like to get photos from you that we can put in there. And then that will be what we want to circulate to theater departments all over the world, right? And theater professors and that sort of thing. So this is a soft launch, you know, we just started announcing it today, but we will have like something that's easy to share, and that should be self-explanatory. So you don't have to write a long email. It'll be, you know, please check out this email. Consider producing these plays. Students can do it on their own, you know, or there could be done in conjunction with the theater department or part of a class.
Can I make a comment on that real quickly? Sure. Thank you, Rosen, for all your thoughts. I think that was awesome. I just want to add real quickly that there is a potential here, especially in the theater world, that if you don't have the ability to stage it, the ability just to read it as a stage reading is also really powerful, because you don't have to maybe get the actors involved or anything like that, but you can have people just read the parts out and just then have a conversation after it, because sometimes that is also as equally as powerful as actually just seeing it done on stage, is hearing different people's voices inside of it. So there is that potential of, maybe I don't have a full cast that can perform something or put this all on, but maybe I can get a group of students who are passionate about it just to read the stage productions, which is another type of entertainment. I mean, I don't want to speak for Donna, but I know for me, stage readings is sometimes even more powerful than having to see the entire production put on. So it's just a potential or possibility out there.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up. I mean, even it can be a more formal reading at music stands, or it can just be a casual reading with actors sitting around in a group, but it can have a great impact.
Yeah. And I like the idea of doing it in conjunction. You can have Climate Week, you know, you don't have to do all this stuff in one night. And that's what we'll do at Bard. So this will be kind of probably an additional add-on, or maybe later, after, like an evening thing after we've had something, but there'll be different ways that people can use this. Sunny is asking from New York City Parks, can we adopt these into videos? And I think that's a broader question for the playwrights, because it's your intellectual property, and you'd have to decide whether that would be okay or not. But I would certainly urge students to reach out to our authors and ask them and explore that opportunity. Okay, well, you know, let's spend the next.
I'm sorry, Willa wanted to ask something or say something.
Go ahead, Willa.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. I just wanted to thank you both for sharing. Those were both such powerful stories, and it was such a pleasure to be able to hear those snippets. And I look forward to reading the screenplays, or the transcripts. But I just think it was such a powerful idea to have the firefighters be cast sort of without thought of gender. What a great idea to bring that into so many different types of casts. And again, like you're saying, it really adds a lot to the storytelling. It depending on who's playing who. I think that was such a powerful choice. So I just wanted to commend you on that. I was really interested in that.
Great, thanks. And I think we said it, but just to be clear, that these are all they're short plays. They're to be, you know, they're 10 minutes or less. So, it's, you know, the idea is that in the next couple months, you could hopefully get together a small cast to and have a venue to perform. So go ahead, Eben. I think you wanted to.
Yeah, so I think we'll shift over to the comedy section here. And So here what we've done, and if you go to, so I'm on our website now, Add Climate in Theater, there's a link to a document here, which is just sort of an idea for 60 to 90 minute session with students about using comedy to talk about climate change. And before I talking about climate change, I did want to share with you what I think is one of the funniest, I hope it's up here. Yeah, it's one of the funniest videos that I've seen about climate change. So let's enjoy that. Here it is. See if we can get there. Is it coming up? Hold on. Does that pop up? Hold on. Here it comes. Okay. All right.
You need to expand your screen even.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
funny for that.
Not letting me do that. Hold on.
Hey.
Hold on. Let's see.
There we go.
We'll stop it and start it. Okay, there. It's expanded now. Okay. Enjoy a couple minutes of climate comedy.
Use this breath of fresh air, huh? So you look great. Yeah, a bit of sun. Hello. Yeah. Hey, come on in. Tidal and Hydro, they're in the kitchen. Great. All right, bud. Yeah. You okay? Oh, no, I was just thinking of a work thing. Oil. Hey, buddy. What's your poison?
CO2, carbon dioxide, methane, benzene, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon.
To drink. What do you want to drink?
Red wine.
It's just like it's cream carpet though. So if you can...
Oh, that won't happen again.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what happened last time.
I'm sure it won't.
Yeah.
Where's Nuclear?
Oh, he's in the kitchen having a meltdown.
Oh no, what happened?
They split up.
Not again.
Yeah.
That guy's unstable.
You just got to give me another chance. I can get clean.
Yeah, great party, guys.
Which is why I think that offshore is more advantageous.
Yeah, no, let's get the tunes going and the drinks flowing.
Do you smell something, Solar?
Yeah, no, I think I do. Yeah.
What's the smell like to you?
That to me is the smell of the past.
Yeah, ancient history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they only add that smell in afterwards.
Could you just crack off, guys?
Everyone hates me now. They hate me. I used to be the popular one. And now, look at me. They use me now, don't they? Hey, Solar. How's it going?
Well, you get the idea. The dialogue is very nice here, and I bet you can't hear it quite as well as you should, but it's one of my favorite climate comedy pieces. One of the things we've learned from climate comedy is that it's really most effective when you get people in a room and make them sit close together up front. So that's one of the tips that I had from one of our organizers. But basically, you know, a 60 to 90 minute, as I said, session that can be kind of led by either students or faculty with an interest in comedy. And it's got some discussion questions, it's got some video clips. And part of it is sort of getting at the kind of comedy that is really most effective. There's a lot of sort of biting satire that really kind of just talks about how stupid everybody is. And that's rather disengaging kind of comedy at the end of the day. But finding comedy that is actually lighthearted and accessible is probably more powerful. So you can have a bit of that conversation with students. And then at the end, kind of challenge them to with a discussion question of, you know, how is this just for comics, or is this something that you can do? You know, are there ways that you can tell climate jokes or whatever as a way to kind of get people disarmed and interested in talking with you? And here are actually the 4 best climate jokes that I found on the internet. So if you want to do a little stand-up in the beginning, you can go in and tell 4 jokes. Hey, I'm an economist, I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I'm going to tell you 4 climate jokes. You know, it's an option, right? And we're really just trying to create lots of options for people to explore different avenues into climate change. of course, if you do have a climate comedy club, a comedy club on your campus, you could challenge them to do some improv or some stand-up, and actually find a student that wanted to really sort of dig into this and sort of build some programming around them with some of these videos. So just another idea, another avenue for engagement, and would acknowledge that a bunch of these videos, there is a thing called the University of Colorado called Inside the Greenhouse, and every year they sponsor a climate video contest. And these 4 videos here are actually from that climate video contest. So there's ways for comedians to get involved beyond attending this. They can submit their work to this video contest and win a prize. Okay, any thoughts about that? Climate comedy. We had a couple of comic entries into the theater contest. We didn't select any of them as finalists, but there were definitely people working in this vein. David, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you. I also wanted to just add, I just put in the chat, and it was in the announcement of the session for anybody who actually came in through our formal newsletter on this, that our partner Bullfrog Films has a whole variety of environmental and sustainability films that are available for screening. Their primary audience is academia, so they're reasonable licensing fees. They have arrangements with many of the filmmakers to give talks or virtual talks, and in fact, just yesterday in Salvador, you'll I think be interested in this. I went to a screening at the U.S. Department of Interior, which is responsible for our lands and waters of the United States. And this was a screening of a new biography, Stuart Udall, The Politics of Beauty. And it was the 103rd birthday of Stuart Udall. He's no longer with us, but the Interior building named after him. He's from Arizona and was Interior Secretary in the 1960s and responsible for not only setting up a lot of the national parks and protected lands, but really putting a justice perspective into this, coming from the Southwest, working with our indigenous people, advancing the roles of people of color in the park services. And it was very powerful. And I know that at least one university in the States is going to be doing that for their teacher and having the screening of the film, and then having a conversation with the filmmaker. So are there any other things that anybody wants to share? Salvador or Donna, anything else that you wanted to add to, before we do let you go here?
I just want to say thank you. This is really great that what you guys are putting together. And I know in the theater world, like echo performance has been starting to be a lot more powerful and being brought up into a little bit more of the mainstream light, which I think is great. So including it inside of your teaching, I think is just an incredible move to get beyond just the standard lecture discussion type of concepts that are out there, because I do think it's a very powerful medium in terms of being able to get people to connect, like Donna was mentioning how powerful theater was beforehand. So yeah, I think I appreciate what you guys efforts are doing, and thank you very much for letting me be a part of it.
Yes, and I'd like to thank you too for selecting this piece. And I think this is so exciting, and I'm really enthralled with the ideas.
Well, of course, let every teacher you know about this in your own networks, and let's see if you can promote production of this, send people to our website so they can download it. And the nice thing about this is that we all know lots of teachers, and teachers know theater teachers. So word of mouth should work for this. We're excited to get it out. As I said, next step for us is to put together a 5-paragraph blog post. And then we will, and of course, it doesn't have to happen April 20 or March 29th. It can happen anytime this spring. So we'll be, really the teach-in runs through the end of the semester. We'll thank everyone for joining us today. And just as a reminder, we do this weekly with different topics, Wednesdays at 10 and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
So next week, so next week, Eben is going to be talking about our campaign to quote unquote make climate a class, with the idea that regardless of the discipline, whether it's theater or languages or engineering or history or whatever, that there is a connection with climate change, climate solutions, and climate justice. And so he's going to talk about how to try to work with your colleagues who are climate concerned, and to show them that it's actually a very easy thing for them to incorporate climate into their teaching.
And Donna and Enoch, if you could each send us short, like 4-sentence bio and a headshot.
I have that from Donna already.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay. Look forward to lots of great productions. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.